Hey everyone, I'm still in the nursery, which means I still haven't finished my other projects, but I think I fixed the graininess issue from the last video, so I apologize for that. I didn't realize it until it had basically already about uploaded, so, but again, I think I fixed that. Last two videos we talked about how do we know how much product to buy, and that's through measuring the yard, and then also we talked about just general fall turf maintenance. And it's not entirely different than the summer and the spring seasons, but it is slightly different because we have the opportunity, we have a window, I should say, a window to kind of fix some of the things that we ran into in the summer. And that's mainly burnout areas, any fungus. And fungus is one of those things that's kind of difficult to really diagnose, even for somebody who kind of knows what they're doing. There's obviously a lot of things that could cause areas to kind of look like fungus, and maybe I'll attach a photo as well, just to kind of give some people some ideas of what you might kind of want to look for in order to decide whether you want to do a fall turf renovation, because it takes some time and some preparedness as well. So a couple of things that we want to look out for just in general to kind of indicate that we might want to go into a renovation. One, we could have thinning turf. So if you look at it and you can kind of see all the way down to the ground, that's one indicator. Obviously, we also could just have areas that are burned out, and those could be pet spots. So dogs are a big one. In the north, we have issues with critters outside that could kind of come in and scrape things up as well. But in the south, I think we mainly have issues with irrigation, either not perfectly watering an area, so we'll have some burnout. We have fungus for sure. And then we could also have, if you live in a new build, especially if you happen to be a neighbor in this neighborhood, you could have some areas where the sod wasn't perfectly laid, where you might want to renovate and get some growth there. Because thin spots now lead to invasive type of species later on, which could be weeds or things like that. So we want a thick, lush lawn going into the winter, so that when we come out of the winter and into the spring and into the summer next year, that we're prepared. So if we've decided that we want to do a turf renovation, there's a couple of things that we want to do right off the bat. So really, I'm going to break this into steps, and I'll put some indicators down in the description below so that you can follow through. But if you haven't watched especially the video on measuring your yard, please go back and do so, because it's going to be pivotal here to make sure that you kind of buy the right materials, especially if you're going to do this on your own, or ask the right questions if you're going to pay somebody. So the first thing that we want to do is mow the lawn down to 1.5 inches. And that's funny because the last video I talked about never mowing really below 3 inches. This is kind of the one exception to the rule, and I use 1.5 inches kind of arbitrarily. For me, I go out and I will slowly lower the mower to make sure that I'm not cutting down, doing what's called scalping and cutting down to the dirt. But we also want to bag it. And again, that is something that we don't normally want to do throughout the year unless the grass is really high. But in this case, we want to bag it to remove those clippings. Those are going to prohibit the seed from reaching the soil, so we want to remove as much as possible. So mow low and bag it if possible. So again, if you have somebody you're paying to bag or to cut your lawn, ask them if they can bag it. We also then, any areas that are kind of really rough, so if you have any pet spots or if you had any fungus or really burned out areas, take a garden rake and just kind of rake those areas up, just to break up what we call the thatch layer. So that's the old kind of grass that's kind of dead and just matted down. Then we want to do what's called aerate, and I mentioned this earlier. This relieves soil compaction, and this helps moisture kind of penetrate down and into the ground, and it also allows for better oxygenation. So if you think about it, basically anything that grows is going to need oxygen and it's going to need water, so that will help everything. And it also provides kind of a different area for the seed to kind of reach. So it gets down there, it stays damp longer, and then it'll grow. So that brings us to our next two steps. What do we apply in order to help new grass germinate? So the first thing is seed. And we want to make sure that we buy a good quality seed. This is one, whatever you do, do not skimp out on it. It's going to cost you about $2 a pound, but good seed has 0% weed seeds. If you go to a big box store like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a Menards or a Walmart and you buy a seed, that seed has normally on upwards of 50% in filler, and then also it will have a percentage of weed seeds. We want to avoid that, obviously, because we're trying to grow grass, not weeds. So I'll link down in the description below some local, if you happen to be local to the Charlotte area, and obviously this is South Charlotte, I'll kind of give you some ideas, but most cities have a company called SiteOne. We have about 5 of them in the Pineville area, and then we also have SuperSod. Both of those sell good quality seed. It's about $2 per pound, and you're going to want to put out about 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So again, that's why I mentioned going back and watching that other video. The last piece is fertilizing. So we definitely want to fertilize. And without a soil test, which I'm assuming almost everybody watching this video is probably not going to have a soil test, and that's okay, we want to use a starter fertilizer. So I mentioned in the last video the up, down, and all around thing with the N, P, and K. We want to apply something with an N, a P, and a K. And this is going to really help us ensure that we have good germination with the seed. And on the bag, it'll tell you how to apply it, how many 1,000 square feet it'll go through. And I'm actually going to I'll have a video coming up soon on what to buy. So you're going to need a spreader. Obviously, you're going to need the seed. And then you're going to need the fertilizer. And those are really your 3 biggest pieces to make sure that you can put down roughly the amount that you're going to need. A little over and a little under is not a huge deal, but those are the 3 pieces that you're going to need to go out and buy. Now that's going to bring us really to kind of like a maintain period. So we cut the grass low because in order for photosynthesis to occur, we're going to need sun to reach the seed to help it germinate. So cutting it low ensures that we have a longer period of time where we can kind of just let the new grass begin to grow, and we don't have to worry about whether or not we're going to have to mow the old grass before the new grass comes up. So we're going to need to wait about 4 weeks. We're going to want to wait until the new grass reaches about 3.5 inches, and then we can come in and mow. But during that wait period, we want to make sure that we water frequently. So again, this is another area where we can break a rule, and we can ensure that we water. We want to make sure that we water 3 times per day at least to keep the seed damp. We don't want to let it dry out, and we don't want to drown it. So really make sure that you water multiple times per day, short durations, and just check it. Go out and check and make sure that the ground, the area where the seed is slightly damp. And being that we're transitioning right now into kind of the cooler time periods where it is safer to do this, the ground won't dry out quite as quickly. So please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. I'm actually helping out a few of the neighbors. Again, if you're a neighbor watching this video, I'm helping out a few of the neighbors with turf renovations, guiding them through the fertilization part, and then I'm taking care of the aeration and the seeding part. So I'm happy to help. Just let me know in the comments below, and I'll also I linked in the last video some pieces, just some suggestions for fertilizer, and I'll do the same here so that you don't have to go and look in 2 different places. So again, thanks for joining, and happy mowing, everybody.